I wish I wasn't in a position to make this video, but here's how I handle it when a snake has a medical problem. There's something wrong with Lydia Dietz. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe, and today is the day that I noticed something wrong with Lydia Dietz. This is going to be a little bit of a different format than my normal video, and I'm going to shoot it over several days, and I'm not sure where we're going to go with it, but you guys can be on the journey with me. So let me catch you up. This morning, I pulled Lydia out of her tub like I do almost every morning. If she's not digesting food, she usually wants to come out. And I put her around my neck and started making my coffee like normal. And I looked at her face and I kind of thought there seems something a little bit off about her face. Like the shape of her face, it looks a little bit puffy, but I can't really tell. Like, is that the normal shape of her face? I couldn't figure it out. But I thought, well, I'll just keep an eye on it. And then somebody came over to just look at snakes. And that's always fun for me. So I pulled Lydia out because she's a great one to show to people and have them hold. And when I pulled her out, her face was definitely swollen. And I turned her head upside down and I could tell that on one side of her face, her upper lip was overlapping. So that's clearly a problem. And then a little bit of fluid came out of her mouth. So definitely a problem. Let me tell you what I did today before I rolled camera. There were two things that took precedent over filming the video. Number one, I called my vet and made an appointment. Today is Thursday. The vet can see me on Monday, and this isn't an emergency at this point, so I'll just keep an eye on her. Number two is I dumped her substrate, sanitized her tub and all of her stuff, and put her on paper. That intro was shot a few weeks ago, and at the time I thought that I was doing a video on taking my snake to the vet. What this video really is on is how do you know if you need to take your snake to the vet? And also, just as important but hard to put in a catchy title, is sometimes you've got to really key in on your snake's behavior to know that something needs to change. And I have a couple examples that we're going to go over. Say hello to my brother Kent behind the camera. We're doing a time travel episode. I'm glad you're finally excited about an episode, Kent. It'll probably be a good one if you take out the snake stuff. Well, we're not going to do that. Okay, let's go back a few weeks. She's not showing symptoms of RI right now. I opened her mouth and her mouth looks good. It's not extra red or anything like that. And when I opened her mouth, she didn't have excess saliva. Hey guys, it's now day 2. Quick update. Sometimes it takes me sleeping on a problem before I think of a more simple solution for this. I woke up and checked on Lydia. She's acting fine. I opened her mouth. She still shows no signs of respiratory infection or any type of disease or lip infection. So it occurred to me that if she's not sick and she doesn't have an infection, she might just be doing this to herself. Maybe she's pushing. And I didn't think of this yesterday because it's, number one, it's not common for ball pythons to push like Echo does, like my reticulated pythons. But they could do it. And also, I've never seen Lydia push before, although she is in front of her tub a lot, kind of moving back and forth. And she could be pushing when I'm not looking or something. Or maybe she just did for a little while for some reason. So I gave her a hide in her tub. She hasn't had hides since she was little because she just wasn't using them. So I pulled them out and she hasn't used them. So now she has a hide and she went in there right away and she's been in under that hide all day. So I'm going to give her, I just gave her one in the front, but I might end up giving her 2. We'll see how she acts with them in the coming days. But what I'm going to do is keep an eye on this. I'm probably going to cancel my vet appointment if I feel like she's not sick or doesn't have an infection. Because if it's just her pushing, I can fix that. Hey guys, Future Bob here. This wouldn't be a time travel episode without an appearance by me. I was just editing this video and realized that I forgot to address the excess fluid that came out of Lydia's mouth. You know, it scared me when it happened because I was also worried about the puffy face thing. But I thought back on it and there was no viscosity to the fluid and there was no color to the fluid. So it wasn't mucus, and it's unlikely that it was saliva. She probably had just taken a drink of water and it came out of her mouth, which can easily happen. But because I checked her mouth later that day and the next day, and I think the third day also after that, there was no excess saliva. I determined that was probably just water. All right, guys, so this is day 3 checking on Lydia Dietz. She ate last night, no problem, which gives me confidence that she probably doesn't need to see the vet. She doesn't fit into this hide, and she's outgrowing her tub also. She's due for an upgrade. But I want to make sure that she's good before I completely change her entire tub. She's waking up here. Hi, babes. Can I just see your face really quick? I know you don't want to be messed with. Come here. So, yeah, she looks about the same. If I'm right, and this is caused by her pushing, it looks like hides might be the way to go with her again. So I'm going to give her a hide for her warm side, because right now it looks like she prefers having a hide. She's probably stayed on her cool end since last night, I'm guessing. It's hard to say for sure. But I'm going to give her this warm hide to make sure that she thermoregulates. And there we go. I'll put that sort of there-ish. There we go. Okay. And then she'll be good. So as it turned out, Lydia just needed hides again. She hasn't had hides since she was a baby. I pulled them out because she wasn't using them, and she did fine for a long time without hides. And really, she probably didn't know. She probably wasn't like, oh, I wish I had hides. She just was feeling anxious, and she started pushing. Now, again, I haven't seen her push, but I'm pretty sure that was the issue, because after giving her hides, she started using them right away, and her swelling went down immediately. So my guess is that she pushed for a day or two maybe, and I just didn't notice it, and it caused a bit of that swelling. So I'm still keeping an eye on her, but I think she's doing just fine at this point. We're going to upgrade her to a V70 tub probably in a few weeks. Okay, here's the plan, you guys, as I do this mid-video Patreon credit scroll. We are about to cut to Kent's Corner and see what's happening there. And then we're going to take a look at another snake that was having a problem that I was sure I was going to take them to the vet. This one was actually really scary, but I want to take this time to thank these Patreon supporters. Real quick, last board. These guys are really helping out the channel, and I appreciate them a lot. And they're getting some perks. So if you want to be involved in that at all, or you want to check it out, patreon.com/greenroompythons. Thanks so much, you guys. Next snake that had a weird thing is coming up. Let's go to Kent's Corner real quick.
Hi, I'm Kent, and welcome to your favorite thing ever, Kent's Corner. Since we're doing a Back to the Future episode, and we're doing all this time hopping, I thought I would do that with Kent's Corner. So I'm going to turn off the camera, and I'll see you in the future. It's the future now. I've been sitting here for the past 2.5 hours waiting to record this next segment. I can prove it. My coffee's cold. Anyway, what you saw before, I was 2.5 hours younger. I'm just like Doctor Who. Thank you for watching this very special time-hopping episode of Kent's Corner.
Thanks, Kent. You're really earning that hourly wage.
I could use a raise, to be honest.
So here's the other weird thing that happened that I thought for sure was going to result in a vet trip. I was in this room and I heard a weird sound coming from the snakes. So I came over here close to the snakes to try to figure out what enclosure it was coming from, and quickly realized that it was Stella here, and she was huffing, almost like sneezing. And so I thought, oh, we're heading to the vet right now. So she was on her ball in her enclosure, so I just pulled her and the ball out together, and I started taking some video of it because I thought if she wasn't doing it when we get to the vet, I need to show the vet what she's up to. Let's take a look at that real quick. So when she yawned, what you saw just there, I looked in her mouth and it looked okay. Like I didn't get a long look at it, but it looked pretty good. And that was also the last time that she huffed. I probably heard her do it 6 or 8 times total, but that last time that you heard it was the last time she did it. So I started thinking about her history and what had just recently happened in her enclosure, which was the day before I did a full clean of her tub and replaced the substrate. And I replaced large chip with chips and fiber, which has more dust. And the day that I replaced it, the day before, I noticed that one of the first things she did as she was exploring her new digs, she started digging, no pun intended. She started burrowing and going under the substrate and moving around, which was weird. I had never seen her do that before, and I've never seen Echo burrow either. So it was kind of strange, but I didn't think much of it. But now that I'm putting everything together, I'm realizing that probably what happened is she got some of the dust from that chips and fiber in her nostrils, and she's clearing it out. Also, as I was watching her huffing, I didn't pay much attention to this because I was really focused on the huffing, but she was on that ball and she was rubbing her face on it. She was kind of pushing her nose onto the ball and digging in, kind of almost like scratching. So she probably had an itch in her nose from that dust material, and then just trying to clear it out. So what I did is I opened her mouth with, after that yawn, I turned off the camera, opened her mouth with a Q-tip and really got a good look, and everything seemed fine. I also really gently put a little pressure on the top of her head. I just kind of pinched the top of her head. Sometimes you can do that if they have a respiratory infection or some problem. You can pinch a little bit on their head and fluid will come out their nose. So I did that little test and everything looked good. So I realized that it's probably a problem with too much dust in her enclosure, coupled with her doing this burrowing behavior, which I haven't seen her do again. I think she just did it because it was a new, kind of a new environment for her with everything freshly cleaned. But the idea now is, I either give her the chips that don't have as much dust, which is a little bit big for her. I don't want her to ingest those bigger chips, or I sift out the dust when I put the chips and fiber in there. So I don't believe that there's a problem with her, but since I'm not a trained exotic veterinary doctor, I still make detailed notes in my Husbandry Pro app, or if I was just using a handwritten diary, I would make detailed notes in there so that if something ever happened that was kind of related to that, if she started huffing again and showing signs of an RI or something like that, I can go back to that and say exactly what was happening and what date it was. So I did that for both Lydia with her situation of the puffy face, and Stella here with her huffing. That's really important to have those medical details written down. So obviously it's important to take your snake to the vet if you notice anything physically or behaviorally abnormal. But oftentimes it's not a sick animal, and it can just point to something that needs to be changed in their environment. Snakes change over the course of their lives, so they can be used to something and okay with something for a really long time, and then something triggers a change. Maybe they're growing up from hatchling. Maybe they're getting old. Maybe you've just moved, and even if they're in the same enclosure, you move, that's a different space. That could trigger something. Maybe you've just cleaned their tub. Maybe it's breeding season. There's all kinds of things that can trigger changes in a snake. And if you know your snake well enough, you can see the signs of something that needs to be changed. Now, I would say that for either of these two examples, if I saw anything, for Lydia, if I saw anything other than just the puffy face, if she had a red mouth or extra saliva or anything else, eyes that weren't very clear, or she was being lethargic, those things put together would tell me I need to take her to the vet. And same with Stella. If there was something other than just that huffing, which stopped immediately, I would take her to the vet, But in both of these cases, I was able to figure out what is probably going on, make a change, and that solved the problem. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.
This episode was basically Hot Tub Time Machine, but without the Oscar-worthy screenwriting.